Hello and welcome to another live demonstration. Today I want to introduce you to the Nitram LiQuid Charcoal. So it's charcoal in a liquid form. Now I'm sure I've shown you liquid pencil, which is a different product, and how much fun you can have with that. Same with this, you've got that lovely dark charcoal finish, but you'll be able to put it on with a brush. So let's have some fun. And we're going to use it in conjunction with the Nitram Charcoal and a Willow Charcoal. So let's just have a little play. What I do find is, because you can be so expressive, you can just pick up a big brush and really go for it. So like you would do a paint, you apply it the same way. So you can apply it quite neat, and then or just add water to dilute. Let's see if I can do it like a watercolour. Just add more water as you go along, but you can see how it starts off with that lovely, really dark finish to start with. So it's made from compressed charcoal, and the binder's gum arabic with a few other preservatives just to make sure it stays stable. But look at the fun you can have. Now, often with me, I've really struggled to get that lovely dark tone, and to be able to get that range using a brush is really fun. What I did discover is that while it's wet, you can't really put the charcoal on. It doesn't seem to take it as well. But if you look at it alongside Willow Charcoal, and again you can get those lovely soft layers, and the Nitram, so the Willow Charcoal is, as it says, made from the willow tree, so it can crumble, it's got little knots in. The Nitram Charcoal is made from compressed wood, so it's even throughout, and that gives you that really even charcoal stick. Now it's also graded, so this is the B, and you've got HB and I think a 2B. So not only are you able to use the really nice dark charcoal, you're also able to grade and choose a charcoal which is slightly softer or a little harder. Now I'm waiting for this to dry, because like charcoal, I want to see how much you can move it and whether I can erase. I'm not sure. No, you can see it's not dry. There, let's have a look over here. That's not fully dry, but it might give me enough to have a play. So I would guess, because it's the binder's gum arabic, that it won't really move. It does a little. What it's doing is it's probably still wet and it's taking off the pigment, the wet surface, but it doesn't have that blendability. And let's have a look here. May not be quite dry enough, but let's see. Does erase with an eraser. So you're able to go back in, highlight and tone. You can see there. Like I say, once it's fully dry, I'll probably get a bit better things to happen. But I just wanted to show you some of the things that you can see from the liquid charcoal. So painting or drawing with liquid charcoal. I've sketched out the lion. Now this is an image from one of those copyright free sites, because though I do have pictures of lions, what I do find is they're very static. So the lines you take are mostly just laying there, or maybe snoozing somewhere else. And actually lions in the wild spend 16 to 20 hours of their day snoozing. So I don't have any very active pictures of a lion, and I wanted to show the movement you can have with this liquid charcoal. So I wanted movement in the animal. So plenty of copyright-free pictures are available. Just make sure that they are, or use your own. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the background, and I'm going to use a really big brush just to get some of this charcoal down. Now, you can layer it. So this first layer, if it's not looking right, I can layer it. I can go back in with charcoal. I can correct it. So it's nothing to be scared of, which is why I've just gone in with this big brush. Plus, it's fun. You haven't always got complete control when you're using a big brush. So the marks are surprising, but I think that kind of helps get away from that very fiddly, I need to fiddle, I need to create a perfect piece each time. So just using the brush and keep using the dry brush techniques. I'm not really worrying about where I'm putting it on quite at the moment. All I want to do is just make sure I use the brush to bring out some of the hair. And then I really would like nice movement in the background. Let's take some of this in here. I don't want to overdo the background quite yet because I want it to come together as a whole. And I can't do that until I've started working on some of the areas in the lion. So using what I have on my brush, I'm looking at the darker areas because I know at the moment the brush is quite dark. It's a quite big brush, but something like a nice flat brush like this really helps create those fur, this really long fur that the lions have on their mane, well, because it's the male lion, so it has the mane. So I have some lion facts. This is a male, a mature male, because it has the mane, and they usually live in a group. They're one of the only big cats that actually live in groups. In fact, most of the cats, the wild cats, don't live in groups, and they live in a pride of between, I think, 15 and 30. There can be up to 3 males, 1 dominant, probably some juvenile males in the group, but mostly females. And the lions all have different roles in the pride. So the females are there they're very good hunters, and they use their hunting skills together, so they work as a team to be able to bring down big prey, including bison. And the males guard their territory. So a roaring lion like this can be heard, I think it was about 5 miles away, 8 kilometres, which is a big distance. One thing I did have to look up was, can lions purr? And now, it wasn't actually that easy to get a answer that said yes or no. Apparently, some say that they can't purr because it's all to do with the hyaloid bone or something in the throat. Now, domestic cats, little cats, have it that's rigid and it's solid, so they can resonate to purr in and out. Now, apparently the big cats don't have it. They have a much more flexible bone, so they can't purr and make it resonate. But they can make purr-like sounds. But they can't do that in-out purr that a domestic cat can do. And I think this is also how scientists classify big cats and small cats, by whether they can purr or not. But they've also got controversial issues about whether they can. So it's not that cut and dried. You'll see I've used quite a lot, but big brush, just getting marks down. I think they're just really fun. So the mouth inside is going to be dark. Not fully dark because I want to have the tongue coming forward, but it's the inside of a mouth. I'm going to swap because I want a little bit of control. Again, a flat brush, using the silver brush because I like the quality of the hair, the stiff quality. Just gives me that lovely ability to make those marks. At the moment, just putting down marks, looking at the direction of the hair, using different grades, so a little bit more wet, a little bit darker. I do tend to dab off before I put it on, because if you put it on too dark, it is a little bit more difficult to take down. You can go in and use the wet, but if you're used to using and working with a watercolour, you know that, you know, start light to dark. But I've started dark to light, not fully dark. This is more of a mid-tone for me, just to get some movement onto the page. Now I'm just I'm looking at toner values of the face. Now what I'll do is I'll put on some of the values, and then I think we need to let it dry, and then I can come back in, and I'm going to use charcoal, so I'm going to mix it with the charcoal stick. So it's a charcoal drawing, so it's not mixed media. So I have seen some reviews mentioning that isn't liquid charcoal very much like a carbon black watercolour? So yes, in many ways it is, because it uses, carbon black uses a burnt wood as the pigment and gum arabic as the binder, so technically it is very similar, but this is classed as charcoal. So charcoal, liquid charcoal, alongside liquid, alongside normal charcoal, the whole drawing is a charcoal drawing, so I'm not using a mixed media. You can use it, the black watercolour, but I'm not sure it's going to give you quite the same gritty charcoal feel, because this has that really fine charcoal powder as used as a pigment. And the Nitram charcoals use very fine, very smooth and compressed wood.
Anita?
Yes?
Quick question, you haven't mentioned what paper you're using.
The paper, now this is a watercolour paper. The reason I chose this is because I'm doing it very wet. I'm doing it very much like a watercolour as such, so all those wet techniques are going to be needing a paper that can take water. The charcoal will go on lots of surfaces, but liquid charcoal, because you're using water, you have to think about how the water affects the paper. So I've chosen Bockingford, and you can see it's bowing, and I think it's probably a 535, I think the grammage for Bockingford is. So it's a heavyweight watercolour paper because of needing to allow the water and the paper to work together. So kind of marking areas out. Doesn't have to be totally precise at the moment. Just thinking about darker and lighter areas. What I do have to be careful about is how much light I leave as well, because you tend to get a bit overexcited and a bit carried away. Okay. See if I can get a little bit more. And you can work and gradually build up layers. That's a nice round. Now just take some colour into the teeth because they're not fully white. I'm going to go down a brush to around. Now, as much as I can do, and I can really probably push forward with the flat for speed, I'm going to go to around because that's much more controlling for me to do a mix of detail and a mix of looseness. So I like a drawing or a sketch to look like a sketch, not look like a perfectly presented piece. I'm in awe of those kind of pieces, but for me, I love the quality of sketch. I like half-finished pieces, so pieces that have some really, really brilliant detail, but actually half-finished. It just really shows you what a drawing is. So I'm just going in.
Oh, Anita?
Yes?
A quick question about fixing.
Fixing.
Would you want to fix it? Would you need to fix it?
I don't think you need to fix the liquid charcoal because look, it's pretty solid. I don't fix the charcoal anyway. I'm not one for fixing any of the pastel or charcoal. I think once you put that fixative on, it just takes away the really darks and it just mutes it. So I don't fix a charcoal. You can, if I was fixing, what I would do is fix between layers, but not fix the final layer, because then you keep that fabulous quality and dark and feel of charcoal. So fixing for me is something I don't do. If you want to fix it, a spray fixative is best. Choose one that's suitable for charcoals. And the reason I say that is because it's also suitable for the paper. So when you're fixing something or varnishing something, you don't always have to just think about the medium you're fixing, but the surface you're fixing as well. So if I put a varnish spray on this, which I probably wouldn't, but if you did, the paper doesn't like it. It soaks into the paper, so actually affects the paper rather than the medium. There's plenty of fixative which say that they're suitable for charcoal and pencil, and they're the ones to use. Offer a really fine spray, and it means you can protect it in some ways, but just be aware I would always test on another piece of paper first, because it does change. Like I say, even if you fixed it and it's kind of dulled the image, you can go back in, you can put charcoal on top. So it's not a complete disaster. I just choose not to. We'll probably use a piece of crystal paper, or if it needs to be, you can framed and mounted that way, using a pastel mount, which is a mount, it's a double mount, but instead of seeing the second mount, it's hidden below because it's smaller than the one you can see, and that just protects the charcoal and the surface from touching the glass. So, like I say, it's up to fixing, and some people do it successfully. I have just chosen that it's not something I choose to do. Right, so at the moment this is no real value in it. So let's look here. And even just putting a few marks on suddenly makes everything push forward. And you can see I'm having to really clean my brush in order to take off some of this really dark charcoal. I haven't done the eye yet. I'm actually going to leave that. But the hair here's got a bit of a quiff. And it goes up and around. And his hair's shorter here. So using a small mark. And they have kind of a curly kind of hair. It's not just straight like this. It's kind of a little curlier. So maybe just think about a little bit of movement with your brush. This is all just first layers. This isn't a finished piece yet. So all of those things I can look at and review. What I'm trying to do is just make sure I'm getting the tonal values on before I start with the charcoal. Also being very careful not to overdo and lose the light. Dark here. Nose, this is much darker. Let's have a look, stand back. Because I can't stand back, I can't always see the values, and I've often said, under this light, I just can't see. I cannot see the values as well as you can on the screen. So it's a lot of hit and miss for me. But I think because I can't see it, it's actually quite an advantage because they work better. So for me, when it doesn't look overly toned, it's actually much more toned than I think. Using the texture of the paper as well as the texture of the brush. So there's hair coming down here. That's quite light, but it has some dark marks behind. Just spin the brush and let it work for you. It's great when you've got tools that do the job for you. So that's why I quite like a brush and watercolour paper. It just gives me that texture. So I'm going to just put the eye in. So the eye's closed. I'm not actually sure if he's roaring. To be honest, he could be yawning. But it was the most movement I could find. Like I say, they're pretty lazy or laid back. Not lazy because they do go on a hunt. They usually hunt at night or dawn and dusk. And it's the females that work together in order to bring down the prey. They can run really quite fast, and they can leap about 36 meters, I think, with one leap. And running, I think it's about 50 miles an hour. The reason I thought that, because I thought that if a lion was running after you, you stood no chance. Even in a car, you would have to be able to pick up some speed to outrun a lion. So that's why I kind of remember that detail.
You only have to run faster than the person
behind you, yeah, I know. I just hope to not be in the vicinity of lions that are able to chase you. Right. Let me do the nose, and that might help things fall together. So key features like the nose and the eyes, if they are right and they're showing that they're an eye and a nose, then the rest of it can just really just fall around it. So it's got kind of a, it's actually straight, it's not heart-shaped like some cats. Now,
Anita, sorry.
yes?
I can't remember. Someone's asking whether you said whether the charcoal reactivates once it's dry.
It will do.
It will do.
Yeah, I can show you. So, because the binder's gum Arabic, which is a water soluble, I can go back in and lift here. So yes, you can reactivate and you can go back in. Like you would a watercolour, and a lot of the techniques are very similar. mouth here. Goes around. Not really dark, and I'm being a bit too careful, I think. Need to be a bit braver. Because I need to push that forward. And I'm not really succeeding in that because I'm not making this dark enough. And I think that's taking it forward, push this bit forward. Okay, I'm going to leave it there because I need to let that dry. And then I'll come in, and once it's dry, I can work over with charcoal. And then I can go back at the end if I really want to just suddenly bring a little bit more darkness to the image. So join me in a minute.
Hi, I'm Ali Hargreaves, and I'm here to introduce you to Ready Steady Paint. This is a monthly art subscription box for 6 to 11-year-olds. Ready Steady Paint has been designed by today's artists to support, develop and encourage those of tomorrow. I have had over 20 years experience as a primary school teacher. I've worked as an artist in residence in a number of primary schools, and I'm also a mum. I've seen how creative subjects, especially art, has declined over the years and has been taught less and less in the educational system. We feel very passionate about filling in this artistic void. We're so excited to share the experience with you and your children. We hope to give children a chance to produce beautiful pieces of art with high quality materials. Following a hand-curated syllabus, each month subscribed children will receive a box full of high-quality artistic goodies in the post. Using these materials, they'll be able to follow the online tutorials delivered by me and access through the Ready Steady Paint website. All this will be conveniently delivered to your door at an affordable cost. There is so much to learn and so many wonderful activities to complete and rewards to gain. So what are you waiting for? Join us on this journey of artistic fun and discovery.
And we're back.
Hello and welcome back. So I've had a chance to just blast that with a hairdryer, and now I can go in with a charcoal stick. I could have done it all just with liquid charcoal, but I wanted to see how well the liquid charcoal worked with charcoal, so let's use it. Now charcoal I forget. I don't use it that often, and what I do is I forget how wonderful this medium can be. Really excited by the liquid charcoal, but I love the real marks you can make, especially on the watercolour paper, where it's hit and miss with the texture. It can skip over some of the areas, and I really love that mark making you can make with the charcoal. So alongside the liquid charcoal, which I love for those really expressive marks, you can add little bits of detail, and I'm not going to over detail because I want to still keep the expressive feel, but little bits of detail, like I mentioned that wavy hair that they have and that really short little hair that they have. It's great when a medium like this just does it for you.
A question for you, Anita.
Yes.
Joe's asking about charcoal pencils.
Yeah, they'll work with it.
And whether you recommend them, whether you like them.
Yes. I don't mind recommending. What I don't do is I don't compare things, because I think that's a little unfair and it's such a personal choice. But yeah, charcoal pencils. So the charcoal in a wood form, it's usually a little bit harder. It's not as soft as charcoal like this in this form, which is quite messy, and I could probably end up looking black, and I'm sure Gary won't tell me. I'll have a big smudge across my face and no one will actually tell me until I'm leaving, and I've had it all day. It usually happens. So yeah, charcoal pencils, just a little bit harder but very controllable. So can sharpen to a fine point and be able to put that detail down. And look how dark I'm being able to bring out for the hair. on the line. Now this is too light. I'm going to have to darken this because the ear is behind this hair. So just thinking about, does it make sense? Does it? Oh, yay. So I'll do that at the end. Just checking that I was able to bring back some light if I'd put too much dark on. And that's the great thing about charcoal, is you're able to control and manipulate. Right. Not wanting to put too much detail. I want it loose, but it's really hard to get that right balance, and it's practice a lot of the time. Now, the difficult bit was getting the tongue to come forward and have that lovely arch. And I found the easiest way for me was with the charcoal, because I can feel it, I can touch it, I can blend it with my fingers. And just doing a very soft blend with the teeth, able to shape. Like I say, I do want detail. I don't want a huge amount of detail. I want it to be a lot softer. And if I feel I've done too much, I'll just go over it with a big brush and really start to bring it back. So just pushing the charcoal into the tongue, just to push it back. Like I say, I'm not sure if he is roaring or he's actually just yawning. But the tongue needs to be a little bit darker than the teeth. Now this is a colour shaper. I'm using the soft end, which helps my fingers, because my fingers are that size, so they're quite fat and great for controlling in some ways, but not for that little bit of control you may want just for detail. And I can push the charcoal where I want it a little bit easier with this. So it's darker in the middle. So now I'm just, to make it make sense, I'm having to look at the original. So much darker in the middle. Can't do it with things in my hand. It has a kink there. I'll come back to that. It's just really easy to come back and move on if I'm not sure it's working. So here, let's put some. Needs to be a bit darker because it's behind the mouth. What's really difficult is when you see the original photo, this looks quite light, but I need to show that actually it's behind the mouth, so there's going to be a little bit of darkness. So it's like putting shadow, white or very light colours. It's really difficult because you don't want to put too much shadow on. You don't want it to make it look odd, but you do need to make it make sense, i.e. that it's behind. That's the great thing about charcoal, is you can just manipulate using my fingers. And I will go in with the liquid charcoal just for some final. Nose is actually quite dark. Final little. So whiskers, that's what I did forget on the piece I did before. Must remember to put whiskers on. Just building up your tonal values. And you know those people who really like to, if you're working with watercolour, you don't want to overwork. Well, charcoal is a great thing. You can work, you can lift off, you can put back in. It's really great for that because you can erase it, you can darken it, you can keep going back in. So it just offers that fluffiness that some people really can't help. Just using the edge. Oh yeah, look at that. I wanted some texture. Letting it catch, darken. So this is difficult because it's white. According to the original image, it's very white. But I'm going to have to darken this. Let's darken the nose. What I'm thinking about is darkening areas I can see, but they look quite light, and not losing some of the light. Let me just be a bit braver. I think some of it is I'm being too tentative. Let's use this texture. It's better. Right, this bit is not quite right. It's got a wrinkle there. Then this bit goes up and over, and this is darker behind. It's in my hand. And then his nose, because he's roaring, has that nice lift to it there. Now that's very even, so I need to just break up that. Okay. Darken here. See what I can do with the eye. Let's make it more dramatic. Probably just not adding enough drama to it. It's darker here. Right, I think I'm starting to feel that I'm fluffing a little bit, so I'm going to go back in with the liquid charcoal. See, I'm not sure, I haven't tried it with this yet, so it was good. Let's just see, because I'm sure, like with lots of things, you can actually put it on. It's not working how I want it to. Now, normally I would persevere and really see what I can do with it, but I'm on a time. You don't want to be seeing me spend the next 4 hours trying it, seeing how it works. So I'm going to just go in with something I'm comfortable with, which is the brush. I'm going to spin and twist just to get that little bit more mark making. I mean, I find drawing a really nice thing to do. The charcoal, the pencil, it's quite controllable, whereas the brush makes marks that sometimes surprise you. But I think that's part of the quality. Right, let's just go and darken. Let's just see where I can take this back another layer. So now I'm just thinking about, there's too light here. It needs to just go back, and I've chosen to pick up the larger flat brush just because I won't fluff with it. I will just put it on and make that mark, be confident with the mark rather than so the tools, sometimes think about the tools you use, because you know it's nice to have a nice graphite pencil, and you know, you hold it and you're comfortable with it, but the marks you make may not be as interesting because you're quite comfortable and sure of a pencil. We grew up with a pencil. We learnt to write with a pencil. It's something we can manage. So actually, choose a tool you can't manage and you'll find you can make some really exciting marks because it surprises you. And people say, oh, how long does it take you to do something? It's practice. It is literally practice. On a new medium, I will spend quite a lot of time learning what it can do because I need to be able to show you to its best ability. No, this is still too light. It's not got the drama there. It's not got the drama I was looking for, so this is what I'm going to do. Better. Just give me that black drama. Needs to be darker in here, and I think I'm nearly done. Use it. Right, I'm going to overwork if I keep going. So, using the Nitram LiQuid Charcoal alongside Nitram Charcoal, or I've been using a piece of Willow Charcoal because it's quite soft. Putting them all on with flat brush, round brush, whatever tool you can make. So, can't decide whether you're drawing or you're painting with charcoal, but you can see great texture and the marks you can make. So a fun, very new product. Let's just see how people can make some really wonderful pictures with it. So I hope you enjoyed that, and join us next week for a live workshop with Matthew Palmer.